Everyone. This is Coach Alexis, and I am excited to have a successful Indiana business owner with us today, Steve Pirt of Flex Werk. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Alexis.
I'm happy to have you here today. So, Flex Werk has seen a steady growth since its founding in 2022, and we are excited to hear a bit more about your journey. So, Steve, can you start with introducing yourself and tell us a bit about your personal story?
Sure. Good morning. Let's start with the fact that I'm a transplant. Born and raised in California, served most of my 25-year career, which has been exclusively in fitness, headquartered out of either Northern, Central, or Southern California. I started as just a young kid in a gym who had a lot of enthusiasm, probably too much caffeine. And someone tapped me on the shoulder one day and said, "Hey, I'll pay you to work out with my members." And I thought, this doesn't exist. This is crazy. This is amazing. And the next day, I'm a certified personal trainer, maybe not certified so much. But through the ranks, I was quickly able to just find efficiencies and success by trying to put as many people in front of me to do the right things as frequently as possible. And I found that that was a hmm, much needed or much wanted skill set in the industry. And so I went from just focusing on myself to then teaching other trainers how to do it, and then districts and regions. And I've just scaled my way up through various companies who wanted to solve bigger and bigger problems, specifically through fitness, leading all the way up to the last job that I held, which was the National Director of Franchise Operations covering North America for UFC Gyms, one of the largest international franchisors in the world.
Amazing. So, getting people to do the right things, then getting companies to do the right things, growing bigger and bigger all along. Now, can you tell us about how this particular business came about and how did you get the confidence that you could run your own business?
That that's a great question. The confidence, quite a limiting mindset, I think was one of the biggest challenges for myself. So I think it really hit me around year 17 in the industry where I was really a journeyman. I would go 2, 3 years, solve a problem, build a district, build a region, hire 500 trainers, build systems and processes, have some success, and then not get bored, but say, okay, what's the next build or what's the next thing? And someone would generally tap me on the shoulder and say, I have the next thing, or we have a problem. And so I kept journeying around solving problems and building that. I think that's just, I didn't know at the time, but that's what I was inclined to do. Um, but by year 17, I started to really have data. I was always very curious. I'm a trainer, right? And trainers are built to do PAR-Qs. And PAR-Qs are gathering information, like a doctor would for you coming in. I need to assess, I need to be curious, I need to be regimented, create a baseline, and then listen to then try to understand the problem so I can create a solution, ideally. And so that's how I was taught. I stayed rigorous and disciplined to that. And by year 17, I found that the data kept duplicating itself, which was the successful fitness professionals had certain behaviors and characteristics, right? Not really skill sets. It was more behaviors and characteristics. And the unsuccessful ones also. But the vast majority that I would have real honest conversations with, they really yearned to be their own boss. They were yearning to do it independently. They were yearning to make more money. They were yearning to kind of be freed from this really tight container that the fitness industry created for the personal trainers. No fault of anyone. I was operating in it exactly how I was taught as well. But trainers were always kind of the byproduct when it was implementing training or systems or education or processes or comp plans. It was mostly focused on like type 1 revenue, membership dues, right? The classic things you associate with the gyms. And I would just find that we would lose a lot of good people. And I thought, this data is saying if we could provide certain things, and it wasn't a whole lot, it was about 7 criteria. Most people are saying, that's what I would do, or I would buy that, or I would want to be an employee of that type of an organization. And so for me, it was data. And growing up basically in the shadows of Silicon Valley in the Bay Area, I got to witness and learn from and watch a lot of really smart innovators do similar things in different industries. They saw a massive industry where people were trying to solve problems on their own and really weren't innovating. They were just continuing the same doctrine or systems or processes that they inherited. And if they were able to come in and create efficiencies and truly solve a problem that was big enough, not just create another option, that was a massive disruptor. And it turned in a lot of times to a massive opportunity. And so I thought, huh. And so I started sharing it and implementing some small test pieces, I think, in the different companies that I was working with. And I was getting A/B tests along the way. And then finally, I just found out that people weren't really up for innovation in my industry for the most part. They just wanted to inherit the next level of, hierarchy, whether it's become the president or the CEO or the RVP, and make money and be safe or whatever that was. But we were really doing the same thing we've always done since, for the last 45 years. And I thought, wow, this is a big, big opportunity. Millions of people around the world are saying that they need space, they need premium equipment, they need a business model that allows them to do it as they want to do it, and they would move towards that. And my peers weren't really paying attention or didn't want to put time or effort and energy into doing something so radical. And I thought either I need to put it down and just sponge it from my heart, or I've got to have the courage to go see this thing through. And I chose to see it through. The second part of the question was, where did I get the confidence? I've always been a confident person. I think that comes from my background in wrestling and overcoming adversity, and like almost everybody, I've gone through some adversity in my life and realized that if it doesn't kill me, I can recover. And so I think confidence has come through accomplishment and actually taking action. And as I started to climb the ladder of the hierarchy in the industry, I found myself working with some of the very best people in the world. And I just looked around and said, you know what, these are smart guys. These are accomplished people, but there's nothing really special. And the ones that really had excelled or that really did something significant in this industry, they just made a decision to try or start. And I thought, why not me? If they can, why not me? And it was making a decision first. I think that's what really made the key, saying, why not me? And then focusing on really the why and the what. I spent years and years and years and years focusing on the why and the what, which was I really wanted to create a global solution to creating an opportunity for the world's fitness professionals to be able to go from employee to entrepreneur, 92% of which have to be someone's employee by the way the system's built. And I thought by emancipating or being able to choose or give them the option to make that choice, I would be able to take advantage of and take hold of a massive amount of passion and migration and energy and to a market that's already massive. And really be the first to do something and think a different way. And I thought that would be fun. I thought that would be challenging. And again, something inside me said I was obligated to do it. That's it.
Amazing. Amazing. So the data showed you that there was a huge opportunity there. The people were telling you that there was a demand for this, but the industry was showing you that people weren't interested in responding to that demand. And you had all the reason to bet on yourself and take action, which we love to hear. So can you tell us about the company name, how'd that come about? And how does your company help people? Like, what is the simplest way to explain that?
Sure. I'll try to be brief. The company name was part of the journey. Um, when you're doing something and trailblazing a path for the first time, you're going to make choices, and some of those choices are going to be fruitful, and some of those choices are going to be learning opportunities. And what I've learned as an entrepreneur is be bold, make the choices. Just try not to make the choices that are going to cost you a lot of money, or obviously that are going to be detrimental to the culture of your team, things like that. So originally, the name of my company was Fit House. I really, it just spoke to me. I spent time. I've been cooking this thing for about 8 years. When I say cooking, I mean obsessed. Um, Not just as a hobby, right? All night, all day, after my big boy jobs and everything else like that. And I think the name itself was probably a 1 year iteration. I had gotten the trademark rights for the US, But I knew that I was building an international company from day one. I knew day one I had to build an international company. So my back end and processes, supply chain, vendors, everything had to satisfy that need, which is very unique in our industry. Not to say that people aren't international, but you have to then put together systems for other countries, and the US has its own systems and processes. That being said, as I started to look around for international trademarking, because I learned very quickly, oh, there's international trademarking versus just domestic trademarking. There was a company out of, I believe, Denmark or something that had the name FitHouse already. They weren't operating, and they tried to build two gyms in New York City, I think in like 2018 or something like that, never opened them up. And so it was basically dormant. And so we came to the decision that if I wanted that name, we were going to have to sue them in international court because they weren't responding to our requests, to abandon the mark, to then get it back, to then hopefully get it here in the US. And we just thought, how important is the name? And I've got an amazing partner, Harry Hill. He's a great entrepreneur in his own right. He's out of Tokyo, Japan. And he said, hey, look, Steve, names are going to change, man. You know, nobody cares. So let's figure something else out and use our money smart. And it was one of those things where FitHouse was good, but then as we started putting together, we realized we really were more of a co-working space for fitness. And so part of my build out and business model was actually taking WeWork's white paper along with a few other businesses and really integrating some key components. And so it just dawned on us, Flex Werk, right? Flexible workspaces for fitness. It was less fitness. It was a wider net, and it spoke, I think, more loudly to what we're really trying to do. And so it was another example of a challenge. Also, we'd already spent 20 grand on swag and our retail lines, and a challenge to an actual opportunity that worked out better because top of charts, people think Flexwork is a much better name. Now we retain our company, our holding company is FitHouse Inc. So it wasn't all for naught, but yeah, quite a process.
So it sounds like being a little flexible about the name ended up panning out better in the long run.
100%. I could have thrown a tantrum. I'm not. I'll be completely transparent. I was disappointed. I was a little stressed. I thought, oh my gosh, there's 20 grand down the drain, and wow, and what's going to happen? And by the way, we were already initiating a franchise deal here in Indianapolis, and it's like, wait a second, the most valuable thing that I have is my mark, and if I can't own my mark, and by the way, I'm going to start changing things. What does that demonstrate as far as are we already inconsistent, right? So all these things really, of course, manifested. And then I just went to bed and woke up the next day. And it really only took about 48 hours to go from that to Flex Work. And it's one example of maybe 7 times at least that I can count where either this journey was dead on arrival or it was, wow, what do we do from here? And just being able to continue to move forward, don't panic, think rationally, or sometimes just step back, let things come to you, let people come in, and then move forward. It's really taught me a lot about life, myself, business. So that's been an interesting part of the journey thus far as well.
So it's taught you a lot. It's taught you to move forward, think rationally. All these lessons have occurred, but what would you say has been your biggest learning as a business owner?
My biggest learning lesson is trust my gut, trust my instincts. This is something that I've spent a lot of time, a lot of years ideating, and detailing and pulling together my international team and customizing every aspect, but at the same time, allow room, allow room for things to breathe, allow room for other people to step in. I've learned that by sheer will and determination, I've been told I can be an intense guy. Um, so if everything's an iron fist or intense and always on the gas, it doesn't leave room for people to jump on the bus. It doesn't leave room for people to breathe or take a perspective or swerve. And so that's been something that I've had to learn because I tell people all the time, I'm very transparent. Yes, I've been in the industry 25 years and I've got a fairly successful career, but almost every day that I wake up now, I'm doing something for the first time. I've never been an entrepreneur. I've never ran and built an international franchise company of my own, right? I've never cut six-figure checks and uh, right. I've never made decisions that affect franchisees as intimately as it does now. Um, so I'm doing a lot of things for the first time. And so I have to give myself the grace to have the confidence to make the decisions, but at the same time, let things breathe. That's been a big challenge, real big challenge. Because I want it
Now,
now. I want to go. I want it to go from an idea in a notebook or many notebooks um, to manifesting and becoming real, and then having franchisees come in and seeing another location come up and see my vendors from Italy and all these people coming together under this idea that I've had is surreal, and it's amazing and rewarding to see customers validating that this is solving and fixing their problems and changing their lives. And but at the same time, I have to be patient to say it has to go at the pace it has to go.
it does. And so you learn to trust your gut, and now you've brought this idea from notebook to reality, and franchisees are coming in, and your vendors are coming in. All this growth is happening. What do you specifically attribute your growth to?
Clarity of vision, I think, is probably the biggest attractant to most people. When I raised my capital, when I was able to pull in my teams from all over the world, when I was able to have vendors create processes and systems and technology ecosystems that have not never existed. The clarity, I think, of my vision and my ability to articulate down to the detail has helped people with confidence in what they're obviously sharing their time and energy and effort and talents and passions into. I think it's helped people trust that there is a plan and a roadmap and a guide. Um, and for me, it's helped me not be so, I don't know, obsessed about the how. It's still focusing on the why and the what, and really having a clear understanding and a clear vision. I think that's been the most success. At least that's the feedback that I've received from the CEOs, CTOs, CIOs, and different groups that I'm surrounded with, and I'm very blessed to have such great people, great vendors like Unix and the Premier Group and Kesey and Optics. So it's been a fun ride thus far. Um, I would also say a skill set of mine is being able to put people together in a room under a unified vision. I can get people excited. I can get people to charge the hill, I guess you could say. But at the same time, we have to be prepared and we have to all charge together in the same direction. And so I think lessons that I've been taught along the way, skill sets that I've been imbued with, and experiences that I've had throughout my career, I think have all prepared me to specifically do this.
That's amazing. So your clarity and vision has contributed to your growth. You also have the ability to unite people under a vision and move them forward. And you're a franchisor running a business, but you're also developing new business owners in the form of your franchisees. So,
Right.
from both perspectives, what do you think are some common misconceptions about being a business owner?
Woo! That's one of our taglines, right? Be your own boss. One of the misconceptions are a lot of people want freedom. They want the outcomes, the rewards, but they don't want the work. I'll articulate it to the simple, example of fitness. Everyone wants to be in shape. Everyone wants, well, that's a general statement, but I would say more often than not, most people would. Most people would rather be healthy and in shape than unhealthy and not in shape. Uh, but few are willing to do the work and be consistent with it. That's probably the biggest misconception. Um, because we provide the private space. We provide premium equipment, as you can see behind me. I'm actually in one of our flex spaces right now. And we provide personalization. So with our technology suite, you're able to take any app, any device instantaneously on a private server in your own space and communicate differently, play your own music, watch videos, share nutrition. It really expands the capabilities of our guests. Um, and a plan where they're using it as they go, like Uber. They're paying for the hour versus a rent or a lease or a membership, and all the complications and inefficiencies that I found that customers in the fitness industry did not want. Um, and so I think the expectation of the outcomes versus doing the work. And on the other end, though, I think people are surprised at actually how fast they can have success. We've had customers here in Carmel, Indiana come in. And when I say customers, our customers are not just trainers or fitness professionals. Anyone can be our guest at any time. Customers come to meet fitness professionals work with their clients, people come, couples come, people who want a private premium experience without all the other complications, again, of general fitness experiences. But we've had trainers come in who had started with one client, used to making $16 an hour, and in 30, 35 days on their own and with our guidance and support and processes, they're making $6,000 a month and they have a viable career. Right. I would say our top performing fitness professional here in Carmel right now is making over $14,000 a year, or excuse me, a month. And he's been doing it for over a year and a half consistently. That's a top tier career in any market, let alone Indianapolis, Indiana. Right.
Um,
And so there's been a lot of surprise on, wow, if I just start taking the steps and I apply myself and then I listen to some of these, we call it the 7 tenets of Flex Werk. I do these things, it's actually not as difficult. It's making the decision, it's the self-belief and taking action that really is the hard part. So we get two sides of the coin, and it's fun because we see it daily, Alexis. And that's it's a rewarding thing. For me, fitness has always been about seeing the light in a client or a customer's eyes kind of shine when they accomplish something on their own that they just moments ago didn't think they could accomplish. In the beginning, it was someone lifting a weight or losing some pounds. And then it was a manager making a sale or hiring and training a really good team member. Or it was a franchisee opening up a location and being successful. So it's to me, it's all the same. And we get to experience it daily. And it's fun and rewarding.
Sounds beautiful and rewarding, as you said. So, as you think of the next 1 to 3 years, what would you say are going to be your biggest challenges or focus areas as far as achieving your goals?
Right. I think the biggest challenge is that's where I think I'm really laser focused right now. I've got one foot in operations still because I'm in our corporate headquarters, our basically headquarter location here in Carmel, Indiana at the Carmel City Center. Um, we have opened up our first franchise location downtown Indianapolis at New York and Pennsylvania. We call it the financial end of Mass Ave. And that's great. It's off to a really good start. Our franchise group is also in lease and will be starting construction very soon for their second location in Fishers at Nickel Plate. So we're excited about that. But my other foot is in growth. We've been operating a year and a half. The pro forma is proven out. It's very transparent from an investor standpoint on, wow, here are my fixed costs. Here's my expected ROI, which is not common in the fitness industry. There's a lot of variables usually. And so I need to step more into the growth. We are ready to take on international and further domestic growth. And so the war cry, I guess, for the team is not physically, because we chose to specifically come here to Indiana to launch our headquarters by choice. I looked around the country and did a data analysis, and this was the best place for our needs to build this first, nice and quiet, and then grow out from there and be able to support a national and international franchise company. And Hamilton County and Carmel and Indiana has been great to us thus far. And we've been here 3.5 years. We call ourselves Hoosiers. Um, but we need to get the business out of Indiana. We need to get to more what we would call mature markets, back to California, Southern California, to a New York City, to a Dallas, Texas, to Miami, Florida, to Tokyo, Japan, right? We're talking to a group right now in South Africa. They want to go to Johannesburg right now because this brand is able to solve problems internationally, right? Fitness professionals have the exact same challenges, whether it's in France, whether it's in Australia, whether it's in New Jersey or Hawaii. And that's why this is adoptable. And so without going too fast, that's the next challenge. And all that takes is capital and the right people. That's it. And so we have to be discerning as I still call us a startup, making sure that we're lean and we don't raise too much capital to dilute ourselves, right? We believe this will be a very, very valuable company very, very soon based on our perspectives and pro formas. But we also need enough to be able to operate and drive the growth, and for me to bring on the team and the layers that I need in order to sell, operate, and market to our growing franchise network. So that's the focus, that's the shift, and that will be the challenge.
Sounds like a big challenge ahead, but it sounds like it's going to be fantastic in the outcomes. So lastly, what advice do you have for business owners that are looking to expand and grow and do things without help from others?
I would say you're probably in for a tough time. If you can't build a coalition, if you do not have advisors or people to keep you accountable, if you do not have access to resources, whether it's financial, whether it's someone being able to give you an understanding of the path that you're trying to go down that has already gone down there successfully, I would say that that's going to be not only a lonely, but probably very challenging path to go down. I've been a solopreneur, but I've definitely surrounded myself with very small, very limited. But as I've grown, I've realized it can't be about me. This company is not about Steve Pirt. This company is about our guests and our customers and our clients because that's growth. And I need to create the opportunities and the room for others who are smart and more talented at certain aspects of this business and the needs than I am. And if all I did was put on blinders and listen to no one, or I couldn't. I've had so much help. I've had so many people help me, from the CEO of Unix and their global sales team, providing me direction and insights and connections that I didn't ask for because they believe in it and they want to grow along with us, to our partners like Premier, who's a very successful audio video technology vendor here in Carmel. They poured in more than what I paid for their services because, again, they believe and they want to be part of something that's exciting. And if I didn't allow that, and if I was selfish or just so blindsided, there's no way I'd be here talking to you right now. We wouldn't have a fraction of the success. So hopefully I heard that question right, and that's that's where I'm going. Also, my partner, an investor, he's not just a guy who writes checks. He's a guy who holds me accountable and keeps me grounded, and has given me guidance, even though he's invested in me and trusts me to make the decisions and run the business and obviously make him a return on his significant investment. It's a partnership. And it also even goes, to my wife, right? Being able to understand the level of detail and passion and time that I've invested in this, and for her to also be a resource. You can't do it alone. There's no way. If you want to have a little business and you want to sell sandwiches, or I want to have a little gym, a little local gym or something, I could probably do that, sure, but not at the scope and the scale and what we're trying to accomplish.
That sounds like a great philosophy. It's like going big takes going together, and it sounds like you've had a lot of support that's helped you in a lot of great ways. Well, Steve, it was a pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you for being on our show.
Alexis, it's been my pleasure. Your questions were insightful, and I've really enjoyed the experience.
And please tune in to Indiana Business Spotlight to hear stories of our other businesses.
Great. Come be our guest.